At my mom's birthday dinner, I showed up holding a small, handmade gift box with a touching note from my kids inside. My sister let out a dramatic eye roll and muttered, "You always pull the emotional stunt." My mother hardly looked at it and said, "Set it down over there and grab a chair." I gave a quick nod, left the box in place, and stepped away. About 20 minutes later, my brother texted, "Why did her card get rejected at the eatery?" An hour on, my dad was banging on my door and raged. The instant it really hit home that they never appreciated me or my children was when my mother eyed the gift box in my grip and brushed it off with that icy, well-known tone she reserved for me. Like I was an unwanted visitor who wouldn't stop appearing. I hadn't gone all out. I wasn't aiming to steal the spotlight from anyone. I simply wanted to offer something genuine. Evan, my 11-year-old, had burned the midnight oil refining a note for her, revising it to nail every single word. He dubbed her the Pie Queen and described how he adored her stories. Nora, my 7-year-old, had poured hours into drawing a scene of her and Grandma caring for a flower bed. They were bursting with pride over their creations, and I beamed with pride for them. So I picked up a finely etched wooden container to house their presents, slipped in a set of vintage earrings I'd spotted at a store in Vermont. Once I recalled my mother eyeing in an ancient magazine and tucked in an $800 prepaid Visa gift card. It wasn't a lavish move, just something useful, since she'd grumbled the previous year about rarely receiving presents she could actually use. I entered the restaurant clutching the box, and my sister, Melanie, right away gave me a sharp glare. She was clad in a jacket that likely cost more than my monthly auto loan, perched at the table's prime spot like she ran the show. Her children were already tearing into their meals, creating chaos, and nobody flinched. "You always pull the emotional stunt," she declared, audible enough for my ears, but not straight to my face. My brother, Daniel, scarcely lifted his eyes from his glass, offering me a brief nod as if I were staff. My mother didn't even extend a hand for the box or inquire about its contents. She merely gestured toward a vacant seat at the table's distant end. "Set it down over there and grab a chair." I nodded. I positioned the box directly before her and exited, not storming off or causing a fuss. I was simply finished with the act. Nobody shouted for me to return. Nobody even troubled to peek inside the box. I drove until I hit a fuel stop 20 minutes out and parked in my vehicle, gazing through the glass, observing a pair argue over a scratch-off in the lot. I didn't feel sorrow, just silly for believing this occasion could vary. Then my phone buzzed. "Daniel, why did her card get rejected at the eatery?" "No worry, no, you alright?" Just a direct blame, as if I'd orchestrated a big hoax to humiliate them. I left it unanswered, simply glaring at the note. An hour on, my dad was hammering my door. I cracked it open to see him gripping the gift box like it was repulsive. He was fuming. "You think this is funny? You handed her a bogus card?" It failed in front of the whole group. I remained quiet. I retrieved the box from him. Within were Evan's note and Nora's sketch, but the Visa card had vanished. "I loaded it yesterday. It held $800, I stated, my tone even. He didn't pause for details. He simply spun and departed, no inquiries, no chance for clarification, just revulsion, as if he rushed to presume I'd botched it. There I lingered in the entrance, grasping a box brimming with my children's affection, aware it never had a shot. That was the instant it struck me. Not the meal, not Melanie's biting remark, not even my mother's apathy. It was clutching that box, grasping they didn't merely forfeit respect for me. They never possessed any from the start. The following dawn, while Evan and Nora still slumbered, I settled at the kitchen counter and dialed the Visa card support line. I entered the info and held on. The voice system verified the amount, $800. I requested a live agent, for certainty. After a short wait, a lady named Sarah confirmed it was live, without problems or freezes. I had her review if anyone had attempted a charge. She reported no. No tries, not at the eatery, not any place. So I remained there, device in palm, eyeing the box, allowing the reality to sink in. They hadn't attempted the card. It never failed. The entire tale, my mother passing it to the server, the group humiliation, Melanie's phony sympathy, was fabricated. They'd concocted it to twist my kindness into something disgraceful. And they never glanced at the notes. Never referenced Evan's phrases or Nora's sketch. I knew that instinctively. I spared my children the details. Evan kept inquiring if Grandma adored the section where he claimed her pies topped cake. Nora aimed to craft another sketch, this one including a pup in the bed. I assured them we'd chat with Grandma shortly, but I already understood we wouldn't. That midday, Daniel messaged me. We're proceeding with the bakery launch in October. Dad says you're still on for the investment. The bakery was their grand vision. A charming spot in the city center, allegedly drawn from my mother's passion for baking, though I questioned if she'd ever baked from raw ingredients. They expected me to finance it. I'd prospered money-wise lately, and they were aware. I was their soft target, subdued, dependable. They'd secure the funds, the venture, and all the credit. But I hadn't transferred a dime yet. Hadn't inked any papers. I was set to complete the deal next week. Instead, I disregarded Daniel's message. That evening a group chat arrived, Melanie leading. Thanks for a great dinner, all. Huge shout out to Dad for picking up the tab after that minor glitch, smiling face with smiling eyes. Daniel responded with a chuckle icon. My mother tossed in a heart. I eyed the chain briefly. Then I retrieved the box once more, lifted it gently, as if it could retain some glimmer of optimism. Nora's sketch depicted her and my mother linked by hands, both sporting enormous, silly grins. Evan's note concluded with a phrase he'd reworked repeatedly. It closed with, "I love you even if we don't visit much." I lingered there a while before messaging Daniel back. Not proceeding with the bakery. Another opportunity arose. His response was immediate. What? You committed. I stayed silent. He rang. I sent it to voicemail. Then Melanie rang. Then my mother. None left voicemails. The follow-up text shifted from puzzled to subtly aggressive to fully hostile. Daniel, you're overreacting about a dinner glitch. Melanie, we can't handle your dramatic flares anymore. That term, flares, landed like a blow. They would never view my children as kin. Not like Melanie's offspring who received trips, celebrations, and photos on their refrigerator. So I ceased responding. Turned my phone screen down. They'd clarified I wasn't in their picture. So I wasn't in theirs any longer. It began nearly right away. Their demeanor changed, as if they'd chosen to wipe the prior days. Daniel rang the next morning, his tone friendly, like casual weather talk. No reference to the card, no note of my exit, just a sales pitch. Hey, on the bakery, we truly value your ideas. Turn it into a real family effort, not solely your funds. Perhaps a corner for the kids, a heritage element. That term, heritage, was designed to reel me. I detected the strain in his voice. Then Melanie messaged. Totally wasn't serious about the card. Just joking, you know my style. By the way, Nora's sketch would be perfect as a wall art for the shop. So cute. Nora's sketch had been wadded in the box upon return. They hadn't even viewed it. Now it was cute. Then my mother rang. I allowed it to ring thrice before voicemail. She attempted again. On the third, she left a recording. Alex, honey, I believe there's a misunderstanding. I don't want this escalating. The bakery is my passion. Your father and I discussed, and we'd adore your complete backing, not just finances. Ring me. Not a peep about Evan or Nora. Not a whisper of their presence or my departure. That midday I was in the backyard, pulling weeds to vent the anger when my phone buzzed again. An unknown number. I nearly skipped it but answered. Alex, it's Linda. It took a second to recall her. My mother's longtime pal, the one who'd sneak me additional sweets at gatherings. We hadn't talked in ages. I'm only mentioning because I figure you suspect, she said. They were at brunch yesterday I attended. Your name surfaced. Melanie said you hadn't wired the money yet, and they had to keep you engaged until it cleared. They were planning ways to make you feel part just long enough. It wasn't discreet, Alex. I said little. I didn't have to. She wrapped with, I'll likely catch flack, but I couldn't remain silent. You're an amazing parent. You and your kids merit more. After disconnecting, I filled a glass of water and sat at the counter, staring at my device. Then I messaged Daniel. I'm withdrawing from the bakery initiative. Best wishes to you all. The read mark appeared right away. Typing bubbles showed then disappeared. 5 minutes on he rang, I ignored. Then Melanie rang, I let it ring out. Then my mother, they were swift. Panic travels quickly when cash is involved. By night I received an email from my father, 3 sentences. This was your mother's passion. You've disappointed us all. Hope you're pleased. Not a mention of the falsehoods, the invented card tale, or how they disregarded my children's work. Just blame mixed with expectation. I didn't respond. They'd revealed our positions. I finally trusted them. I assumed exiting the bakery would conclude it. They'd be annoyed, perhaps toss some barbs, then proceed. I misjudged them. I overlooked what occurs when you cease being their predicted self. The messages persisted. Daniel, this affects more than you, don't complicate it. Melanie, you believe this benefits your kids. Is this the model you want? Then my father, direct as always, resolve this by Sunday, family gathering, attend. Nobody checked if I was fine. Nobody named Evan or Nora. To them, this wasn't about their actions. It was about slipping control over me. I disregarded them. But what blindsided me was their rapid shift from quiet to interference. It began mildly. A bank notification claimed my company account was locked, a paperwork snag linked to ownership challenges. I contacted my attorney immediately. She investigated and discovered filings disputing my LLC's validity. That LLC? One Daniel had been vaguely connected to years back in a botched property venture. He never removed his name from the backup files. I hadn't considered it in forever, but he obviously had. My attorney was straightforward. This wasn't random. Someone knew precisely what to submit to create holdups. It postponed 2 client inflows. I had to phone, clarify, reschedule. It wasn't ruinous, but it was intentional. That night, Linda rang again. I wasn't planning more, she said, but Melanie's chatting. She informed someone at brunch that if you wouldn't comply, they'd hinder your financial operations until you returned. Her exact words, they chuckled. I didn't sense fury or hurt. I felt focused. Like a boundary was violated and I knew precisely the steps. Sunday came, their family gathering. I skipped. Instead, I sent one note to my parents. Not attending. I know the discussions. I know the actions. I'm finished with your scheme. You can pursue your venture, your ideas, your brunches, but without me and my children. We're finished. The message delivered unread. Hours elapsed. Then my mother rang. I let it ring once, twice. On the third, I picked up. She skipped hello or wellness check. She stated, if this is your path, you and your children are excluded from this family. You opted to exit. We didn't push you. I replied, okay. Then she tacked on, we'll adjust legally. Henceforth, we acknowledge only Melanie's children as grandchildren. The others are over. I said nothing. I ended the call and entered the living room where Evan and Nora were scattered on the carpet, engaged in a game. I joined them, mustering a grin. They sensed the issue. Evan queried if we'd see Grandma soon. Nora said she wanted to display a fresh sketch of a dog in shades. I lacked explanations. I simply embraced them. Nora teared up first. Evan fought it but failed. I offered no words, just embraces and a quiet promise formed there on the floor. That entrance was sealed. Permanently. Post-call, I assumed they'd depart us be. I thought they'd honor their statement of severance. But those who value you solely for utility never truly release. 3 days quiet. Then an email from my father. Subject, inheritance details. I nearly chuckled. It was a stiff, official memo on revising their will, noting Melanie and her children as main heirs. No allocations for detached offspring. That term, detached. Like we were an abandoned initiative. I didn't reply. I figured that closed it. But the true clincher, the one that locked everything, arrived a week on at a fundraiser for Nora's school. I hadn't anticipated their presence. I was aiding Evan with a ticket when Melanie's voice cut in. Well, see who's here. Didn't realize they allowed outsiders. I pivoted. She stood with my parents, all attired like for a formal event. Her children snatched sweets from the buffet unchecked. My mother avoided my gaze. My father offered a nod, like I was any attendee. Then he addressed another parent, gesturing to Melanie's children. These are our grandchildren. The ones who matter. He uttered it nonchalantly, like trivial. Evan caught it. I noticed his posture tense. Nora gripped my leg, peering up at my mother, awaiting a look that didn't come. I avoided drama. I skipped confrontation. I just crouched, informed the kids we were heading out, and led them to the vehicle. Midway home, Nora murmured, "Did we do wrong?" I shook my head. No, this isn't on you. But at home, Evan retreated to his room and stayed mute all evening. That was when I realized I couldn't cling to hopes of their shift. Not for myself, not for my children, not accidentally. The next day I emailed, concise, definitive, not funding the bakery, not involving in any family ventures, and opting out of future family affairs. This is irreversible. I awaited no reply. I expected none. And I felt unburdened, not ecstatic, not eased, but unburdened. That sufficed. Weeks passed, I remained silent. They did too temporarily. Evan and Nora quit inquiring about grandparents. Their sketches evolved. Fewer figures now, often just us three. Sometimes just them and a vivid sun, nothing more. Then one midday an envelope came. No sender, scripted address. I opened it anticipating more spite or minor legal job. Inside was a picture. A staged photo of Melanie, her children, and my parents before a shopfront with signage. Opening soon, the Blossom Bakery. My mother's script on reverse. Sometimes you pursue your passion without those who abandon. They lacked the capital. I knew. I'd reviewed the projections, expenses, lease. It wasn't viable unless another backer. I placed quiet calls to known suppliers and builders. One, contractor Tom, rang back. "They're drowning," he said. "Melanie claims an external investor, quiet type, but listen, they're rushing for 6 weeks. No approvals, no zoning compliance, it's all facade." Something was off. With solid funding, no haste or shortcuts. They were staging, perhaps to lure another or to draw me. Then Linda rang again. "You won't credit this," she said. "Melanie's claiming to folks you're still in, just pausing but set for the launch." I stayed quiet. "Alex, they're counting on your cave. They're dropping your name to backers, insisting your backing's en route." That's sustaining it. It connected. They hadn't processed my exit. They were delaying, weaving tales to sustain plans, leveraging my reputation. I stood in the drive long after. Then I moved. Next day I retained a keen lawyer, not for spectacle, but to sever every legal or commercial link to them. Every paper, every LLC, every entry. In 2 days, I held proofs of total separation from their efforts. I informed them not. Instead, I reached a local paper for a piece on business and exiting harmful alliances.